I'm Glenn Flickinger of 21st Century Consulting, and again, I have the privilege of being with Jeff Harding. Jeff, thanks again for being with me and entertaining my questions. So we've already discussed about how tough these times are in the dairy business, and you've seen a lot of it. Can you compare it to another time that the dairy business has been in something similar to this?
So great question, Glenn. You know, it's hard for me to pull up specific years because I think we find challenges almost in every year of some sort or another. Obviously, 2009 was a really difficult, to me in my recollection, was one of the most difficult years we went through. The difference in 2009 was we had a sharp decline in milk price, but then a fairly quick recovery. And it was really ugly for a period of time. In this particular case, we've had several years of less than optimal pricing, and things were just starting to turn the corner, and now unfortunately we're kind of back in a real soft spot. Right today we've got some nice opportunities to forward contract milk through the end of the year. That could be gone by the end of the week or the end of the month. So I think today is a huge opportunity for many people to lock in a little bit of their production going into the rest of the year, because it's at a barely profitable, but at least it's a profitable or close to profitable level for most dairies.
So the other thing when times get tough is that we get beat over the head about cutting costs. And the first question that I would ask you, what do you think about, I know we have bases right now and guys have to worry about that, but how do you feel about cutting costs versus making milk and making profitable milk?
So Glenn, again, great question. Many times the most profitable operations are the ones that make the most milk. When they get the most revenue coming in the door, most investments you make on a dairy, the yield production, hence yield profitability. So I think we really need to be careful not to cut our nose off to spite our face. We can cut a lot of things out of a ration, but again, I know you and I have talked about this and we agree. If we knock the peaks off these cows, we've lost it for a year.
Yeah.
We'll never get that back. So I think that's a mistake we can make in tight times. Is if we need to cut milk production, cut it in the back half of lactation some way. Don't pull those nutrients and those additives, that critical nutrition out of those pre-fresh, post-fresh, and early lactation cows.
So lots of times this time of year, or in this dairy environment, dairymen are looking for they're looking for leadership, and they want to get their costs to a manageable place, and so lots of times they're ready to throw everything out the window. And so what kind of advice are you going to give a dairyman when he's looking through his ration, he's trying to make a rational decision? Should I keep this? Should I not keep this? Should I take this out until things get more profitable? What kind of advice are you going to give him when he has to make those kind of decisions?
So I think two things, Glenn. I think two things. One is have a nutritionist, a consultant that you really trust, and use his expertise. Don't try to outsmart him. Don't try to tell him how you should feed. He should suggest you feed his cows. Utilize his services. Utilize his intelligence. The second thing is build a network of other good, successful dairymen that you respect and interact with those guys. Because those guys didn't get to where they were. Those guys that make a lot of milk and have done it year after year that are successful, they didn't get there by accident. So form a network and talk to those people and have trust in those relationships, I think will help many of our dairymen.
Okay. Jeff, I really appreciate you taking this opportunity. I really appreciate you and the advice that you're giving dairymen. I think it's really sound advice. And thanks again. I'm Glenn Flickinger, and that's our opinion.